Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Something to Talk About. A little bit different format this morning because we were having some technical difficulties with the production studio up in Michigan. Sometimes technology doesn't always work, but we are still here and we're going to be recording the show and then putting it out on all of the platforms that you can find us on. And there's lots of them out there. And you can always go to stuartsachs.com and find this show too. But it'll be on Spotify and Anchor, and it'll be on YouTube and all of that. But in the virtual studio this morning is my illustrious co-host Vaughn Loick. Good morning, Vaughn.
Good morning. Good morning, Stuart.
Glad to have you. And we also have a very special guest with us, Sarah Jackson, who is joining us from Houston, Texas. And we're going to be talking about the very, very specialized business that she is in. Sarah, welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Welcome, Sarah. I'm so excited to dig into this topic. As you know, I have a personal interest in today's topic with the whole relocation thing. And I learned a lot just really over the past few weeks about that there's so much more. I didn't realize that there were such services out there to help ease the pain, or to just add to the excitement of, depending on the circumstances of a move, of a relocation. And I know that you're the right person to really add to this topic. Did you say Sarah Jackson? Did you say her last name?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
I just want in her bio, I love that your husband's name is Kendall.
Yes.
Yes. And that was one of the first questions I had when I found out your husband's name is Kendall. You got to tell me, is there any connection with the wine?
No connections at all.
Do you drink Kendall Jackson wine?
Yes, we do. It kind of turns into a family gag gift around the holidays. He'll sign bottles for family members and friends, and we get a big hoot out of it.
That's great.
That's pretty cool. You got an autographed bottle of Kendall Jackson wine from Kendall Jackson.
Yeah. Exactly. I love that.
Yes.
That's a fun part. That's a fun part of your bio. And I wanted to also mention, before we dig into your professional kind of life, just that you are you always have been and kind of still are a small town girl. Is that?
Yes. I grew up in a small town and didn't know if I would ever go back to one, but here we are.
Yeah, I love it. But yet your job takes you to the big city, right?
Right. Absolutely. I always say my favorite part of the day is our drive home, because I'm leaving all the city lights behind me and going home to our little piece of heaven. So
that's comforting for sure. I love that. And when I say the big city, I'm talking about Houston and I guess the greater Houston area, really, because you're not just Houston, but you're really all over. And one of the few companies in Houston, if I'm not mistaken, that offers the services that you offer. And I'd love to, Stuart, if you're okay, just dive right in and let Sarah first talk a little bit about her company that she works for, which is All Organized in Houston. They service the greater Houston area. Talk a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, about just, what the company does as a whole. And you can then kind of fine tune it into then what you do. And please, at the end of it, share your title, because I love your title. It's a very comforting title. So I'll let you take it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So here at All Organized, we are experienced experts at helping our seniors going through the downsizing and relocating process. And so how we do that is we offer free consultations to understand their move needs and help them prepare to make one of the biggest moves of their life with ease. A few things that we do to help is we offer floor plans, we pack, we move, we unpack you, we set your home up so that you can physically live in it and comfortably. And we also do house clearing. So all of are parts of the downsizing and move process.
And I
So
like-
my title, yeah, no, go ahead.
I was before you get down to your title, because to me, when I started to get to know your company, and I'll share with the listeners, and Stuart, you already know this, that my parents have just used All Org for their relocation into assisted living or retirement. And I was fascinated, really, as I talked through the move with my parents, to learn all that this company provided to make this a seamless, transition. And I began to learn a little bit more about what the company offered. And it's not just, as you call it on your website, senior moving,
Mhm.
but it's also just general moving. And then it's also, they offer professional organizing. So there are a lot of services that there's so much more, because they even then work in conjunction with other companies like, gosh, I can't think of the name of the company now. Sarah, you would know, but they did the auction. They handled all the auction items. Because when you are downsizing, in my parents' case, you have to get rid of a lot of things,
Right.
which is an emotional task, but then also it's physical, because you're actually having to physically identify those items, pack up those items, and then get them off to auction. So All Organized will handle that part of it too. And like Sarah said, the cleaning out. So literally, they will sit with you and identify, like Sarah said in the consultation, what is your type of move? Are you a young family that is
Right.
now, moving up in the world, moving on up, is it that type of move where it's probably a little bit easier, or is it the senior move where you're trying to fit that square peg into that round hole because you're downsizing, which is extremely difficult and emotional. So what I found so fascinating about this concept is that you don't really think about, when people think of a move, they just think of packing up a box and going. But what Sarah is saying here, and she's going to get now into more of her title, and what she does is really identifying not only the physical aspect, the needs of the physical aspect of the move, but the emotional part, and also making sure that on both ends, things are taken care of. The house is packed up and cleaned out. And then on this end, we're going to get you in comfortably to where we kind of get you started on your new life. It's really a big, there's so much to this company that's why I wanted to talk about this on the show, because Sarah just did so much for my parents, and I want her to talk a little bit more now about what she does for her customers. And now tell us your title.
Okay, so yes, so we definitely help out with the senior moves. We do traditional organizing, and the house clear out. And that's when we get the auction company involved. We work with several, but the one that you were referring to that we use for your parents is called Gallery One.
Yes.
And I can touch a little bit more about what that house clear out is. And so, like you said, those are all the items that will not fit in their new home or new space, according to the floor plan and the room itself. And they're all still really nice, good pieces they've had for 20 plus years. And we just cannot take it to the donation center. It's worth so much more than that. And so we get this company involved, and they come in and also do a consultation and pick and choose what they can sell and consign for the families and the clients. And at the house clear out, that's usually a week or so after they have moved in. We like that time. We want the clients to take that full week to recover from the move physically and emotionally, get comfortable, make sure there isn't some corner in that home that does still have maybe a little space for a chair, or this frame could go on this wall. And so at that time at the clear out, we'll go in, we'll box up and gather all of those items and take them to Gallery One. And also at that time, we'll haul away and take away all donation and trash items. And at the end of that day, your home is completely clear and empty. Your housekeepers can come in, clean it, take those pictures, and put it on the market.
And let's talk a little bit about your because while this might sound like an easy process, and probably in most cases it is, but in a lot of cases too, especially with a senior move that we're talking about, because let's face it, if you're dealing with a young couple and they're moving up to a bigger house and they've got young kids and they're just starting off, I would imagine those type of moves are very positive, and they're excited about it, and there's not the challenge of having to try to squeeze your whole life into a little place. They're actually looking at new furniture and whatnot and growing into their new house. So that is a different, kind of scenario. With the senior move, however, I would think that you personally, Sarah, would deal with a lot of emotion along the way. And again, that's where your title, in my opinion, is so very appropriate to your role at All Org. And so if you could share with us that, and then share with us how you see your job kind of being somewhat of a, I don't know, counselor along the way, having to kind of talk people through certain decisions and whatnot. What is that? How big of a part of your role does that come into play?
So my title is the Customer Journey Advisor.
Isn't that great?
I love that. I love it. A customer journey advisor.
I don't know who came up with it, but it is so appropriate, Stuart. And again, I'm speaking a little bit from personal experience, because she literally, excuse me, not literally, figuratively held my parents' hands through this entire move. And if anybody who knows Larry Catuzzi, coach, knows that that is no small feat to get him through what he just went through. So go ahead, Sarah. So yes, I love it. Customer journey, yes, advisor.
So, really, I'm the first person that these clients come in contact with physically. And so I have that weighing on me right when I go in. And so the first two things that I have to do is build trust with them, get on their level, comfort them from the very beginning, and set the expectations with the clients, and what to expect moving forward and everything. And you've said it best with hand holding through the process with your dad. That is it's more common than you think, honestly. And so I really stay in contact with these clients up until we begin packing them or organizing them. After that, then our project managers and our organizers take over from that point. So I, typically it's a 3-week process when I'm constantly staying in communication with them, continuing to build that trust and going over their floor plans, going over the estimates, the details of their project, what they can expect when the project begins, some of which I type up a schedule. Pack day is this day, and we are going to pack these few rooms, and just kind of give them a full process of that.
Sarah, when my wife and I relocated from Florida to Texas, we downsized from the home that we had before. It is a very, very emotional time, because you are not only starts with the furniture. Do we really need this big dining room set with the hutch and all of that to go into the new smaller footprint? And that part is probably a little easier to go into. But when you start with artwork, and you start with, like, for instance, Coach Catuzzi's got lots of sports memorabilia and all, and I'm sure he wanted to take everything, and you have to very carefully say, you may not need this, or we may not have room for this and this. I'm just zeroing in on the seniors right now, but along comes this 20-something that's going to tell me what I can take and what I got to leave, and everything. That comfort level has got to be the very, very first bridge you've got to cross. In order to tell them, I will work very, very hard on seeing absolutely how much we can absorb into the new smaller footprint. Is that a common statement that you have with most of the people you work with?
Yes, it is. And that first initial consult that I go on, we're connecting, they're telling me their story, how long they've been in the home, what the furniture means, what this means for them to move, and what their goal is in the move. And, really our next step after that throughout our consultation is we do a home tour. They give me a tour of their home and we go room by room. As we're doing this, I'm asking them the questions. What do you love in here? What do you want to take to your new place? And I measure all those items out and create a furniture list. And that's exactly what I do is I tell them I will do my very best to make all these items fit on your floor plan. And then what doesn't fit, then we can offer, maybe we could sell this piece, or maybe we should switch it out for a different piece of furniture. So that's exactly it.
You know,
How-
we keep talking, we're referring more to your senior, your company kind of is broken out into different segments, but we are referring more to your senior moves because to me, it just seems like that's where more, I don't want to say complications, but that's the more challenging move versus just some young family that you're just moving from point A to point B and it's all exciting and everybody's happy. So that's kind of a general move that, probably is not as challenging. The senior move is what we keep going back to because there's more to discuss here. And like y'all were talking, Stuart, about, and Sarah saying she initially has the consultation, she meets the family, she gains their trust, she walks through and, what they might consider a diamond that they never want to get rid of. Sarah might be thinking it's not going to fit, but you have to just kind of massage along the way. You do the best you can on the front end in terms of identifying what's going to move with them and what's going to fit, but then always expect the unexpected. And I know Sarah can attest to this because my father had an armoire that I never knew he was this attached to, but apparently he was, and they could not fit the armoire into the apartment. They had even talked about taking off door jambs, cutting the armoire. I mean, all sorts of different options. We ended up not being able to fit the armoire in, and Stuart and Sarah knows this. It was devastating to my father. And so even though, that's why, Sarah, for me, when I think about what you do at this company, it's a physical move. You put out the schedule, you have to be very organized and all of that. But honestly, did you expect that you were going to have to do as much, I don't want to say counseling, but reassuring, nurturing, hand holding? Did you, before you entered this position, did you expect that would come from a senior move? You're so young. Did you ever, and are you kind of comfortable doing that? Does it feel natural to you?
Yes, it very much does feel natural to me. I think I have one of my high qualities is nurturing. So it is a very natural thing.
I can understand, like, for instance, let's use that armoire as a case. I'm sure that coach says, no, that armoire is going, case closed. And his wife, Barbara, is saying it won't fit anywhere, so we probably have to get rid of it. You at least can be that mediator to say, let me try and level the playing field and tell you, maybe you'll be able to find an armoire that will fit a little bit better, that you can now, recapture what you've done in the old oversized armoire. And that's what's fascinating to me about what you do. A question that I want to throw at you is, do you just primarily work with people in the Houston area that are moving from this area to this area? Or if they're moving from Houston to Salt Lake City, Utah, does your company offer the same services in this process to getting them from one physical location to several states away?
That's a great question. We only do moves in the state of Texas. That's all we're licensed to do at this time. But I personally have been on many move jobs in Dallas area. I know at the end of the month, we are doing a move to Georgetown from Houston.
Okay. Well, I mean,
So people do hear about us and we do travel.
well, I mean, if somebody's moving from Houston to El Paso, I mean, that's like moving 4 states away in its.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is all organized
Absolutely.
is all organized just a Texas-based company, or is this company also in other states around the country?
At this moment, it is only just a Texas-based company.
Because for those people that are watching this show from all over the country and everything, it'd be a good idea to check out what All Organized is all about, because there may be an opportunity in the city where you're living to find a company that wants to do something similar to what All Organized is doing. Because I mean, and I guess a follow-up question I have is, we've been talking about what you've done for Vaughn's senior parents. Do you offer these same services, say, to a young couple that are moving from one side of Houston to the other side? You can do that for a small move. I mean, for a young move as well as for seniors.
Absolutely. Lots of people reach out to us to bring us in, declutter their home before they move. That's very common with the younger generation. And so it's just as common. Our strong suit is the senior moves at this moment, though.
Yeah.
If you look on the website too, it's a very thorough website. It tells all about explains the concept of all organized. I keep saying all org because that's how I've been referring to it over the past few weeks. But their staffing is, you find comfort just even reading how they've structured their company, because it again shows their different services, which to me, it's just a one-stop shop. It really is. I mean, if you're moving, it's kind of a no-brainer. Because again, if you've never been through a move from the front end to the back end, I mean, there's, like Sarah was saying, decluttering first. That's kind of first step, and determining what's going to go, what's going to stay, what's going to go to auction, what's going to be thrown away, what's going to be donated, what's all these different categories. And so they have, as part of their staff, they've got professional organizers, they have professional movers, they have people who are there to offer the consultations, to put together the schedules of the move, the dates, and organizing things. And I know my parents had a baby grand that they were going to sell, and they could take care of that as well. The first step, if you are specifically if you're about to embark upon a senior move, the first step would be the consultation, because in that consultation they can walk you through. They can find out, like they can determine who you are, what type of move this is, what they could put their whole schedule together, the dates, everything. And again, I mean, they just take a lot of the headache and the heartache, and certainly the physical burden, out of the picture for the seller. For the people who are
You
moving.
mentioned getting some information on the website. What is the website that people can visit, Sarah?
The website, allorganizedpro.com.
Allorganizedpro.com.
Right. You'll see all our.
I mean, I'll tell you that what you were talking about earlier, as far as the decluttering, I have seen from experience, not only myself, but other friends, you have a tendency to want to pack everything and take it to the new location, and then go through it and determine what you can still absorb and what to get rid of. That doesn't make a lot of sense, because what you're doing is you're packing up stuff you're going to get rid of and moving it to where you don't need it. So it makes more sense to evaluate it up front, determine what you don't need and what you're not going to carry forward, because now you have less to unpack.
Good. That's good in theory, Stuart. But I'm just saying again. Had we had this had we talked about this a year ago, I wouldn't be able to speak to the personal kind of aspect of a move like this. And my mom pretty much moved every lamp she could get her hands on. And now on that end, my father's saying, Barbara, we don't have it. Where are you going to put that lamp? I mean, they're going to be putting lamps on top of the refrigerator. I mean, it's like, so, I think sometimes, and I bet Sarah did this, I'm only guessing, but I think if I know that I went down and helped my parents organize and kind of put things into piles of what's going to go to auction, what's going to go to the Buckingham, and what's going to go to donation, etc. And if I found myself in a conversation that was really not going anywhere, and they were trying to explain to me why they wanted it, why they were going to keep it, and that it would fit, and all of this, I would just let it go and say, okay, it's going to the Buckingham. And then my thought process was, on that end, we'll deal with it. They're going to get to a point where they're going to have, maybe they weren't quite ready to part with it on the front end, but they're going to get to a point where they're going to have to part with it on the back end, but it'll make more sense to them because they'll actually visually see that it's not fitting where they thought it was going to fit.
Right.
Well, no, not
Right. And so clients,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
So
go ahead.
clients that do have that process, that are, toying around and can't really let go of those things, and we do let them take it. We tell them after they have moved in and they're settled, live with things, we'll come back. We'll come back and have another declutter session, and get rid of those things, take out those things that no longer fit or that they no longer want. Your dad got those storage closets, and he knows he wants to keep some, but now that he sees it all there, he's like, why did I keep some of those things? And that's something that I told him is live like you are for a few months, call me, we'll come back. We're not going anywhere.
I think
great. That's so awesome.
That was the point that I was saying, is that sometimes I think there are people that take those pianos and that huge oversized dining room set with the hutch and cabinets and armoires and everything, and they get to the new place and they say, why did we bring this? It really doesn't fit, and I don't need it. So now I got to get rid of the piano and the dining room table and the armoire and all. And that's what I say. It's good to see it through another pair of eyes, because you've gotten used to all of that. And Vaughn, I think the reason you went to Houston is because all of those lamps that your mother had, you wanted to put your hands on a couple of those and bring them back home.
Yeah, I have to tell you, that's another thing about going down there is, we're all trying to kind of clean out. So it's not like I could come back with a lot of stuff,
Right.
And, my sister couldn't come back with a lot of stuff. So it's, we did leave with some wonderful keepsakes for sure, but certainly not enough that really helped them out in terms of cleaning out. But, we were talking about this armoire, and the kind of the spin that I've put on it, and I know Sarah probably has to do this a lot on the back end when they're in the new place. My dad was upset about the armoire, but then, we kind of talked it through. This is a smaller place. And while it's a 3-bedroom, beautiful apartment and a beautiful place in Houston, still it's a smaller place. And I said to my dad, Dad, you're losing the armoire, but now you can, which is what we wanted them to do for years. They're going to, what's the term? Putting it on the wall. Help me.
Mount the TV.
Mount it. Thank you. We're going to mount the TV. And I said, it'll give you more floor space now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A little more elbow room. And so Sarah said this earlier, they'll get to the house, live there a little bit, see what fits, what doesn't fit. And not just talking about my parents, I'm talking about when she deals with a client in general. And what's so special about this company and meaningful to your clients is that you'll come back. If they get there and things aren't fitting the way we all thought they were going to fit, and things aren't, and they're not settling in as comfortably as they would have, we'll just shift gears, go back, shift gears, and get rid of what. So, I think that's what's so, and we haven't even touched on the gallery one, but that's which is the auction company, Stuart. I'm going to let Sarah kind of walk you through, because this is another thing that I think is very, I don't know, makes this company very successful. And, is that they offer this service. If you don't want to just donate something, you can auction it off. and they'll come in and take care of that too. But Gallery One has a really neat way, Sarah, if you want to talk a little bit about kind of how they go about collecting these items and positioning them to sell and all that. It's really a neat process.
So after we have created their floor plan and we know what furniture and somewhat of framing that will go to their new place, that's when Gallery One will step in, and they will come, like I said earlier, and do a consultation. And they are going to go and look at things even more detailed than I did. They're going to open the drawers. They're going to open those cabinets and mark everything that is sellable. And by marking it, it's so that we and our team will know what goes to them. Everything we do, we work on a color system. Even when it comes on to moving day, we have certain colors that mean something, and it's just an easy process for the whole team to know. Same thing with Gallery One. So they'll come in, they'll tag all the items. They're going to tag something from a new generator that might be in the garage they're going to sell for you, to a collection of books, to a bed, you name it. There's really not much they will take. Of course, it has to be in good condition and odor free and that sort of thing. But it's a really, really great service. We're lucky to have them and lucky to have a partnership with them. But we schedule a drop off with them, and like I said, it will be done on the clear out day. We'll go over, we'll take a few organizers and a few movers. We'll go to the home, box up, wrap up the furniture and the belongings, and then our team will take it over to Gallery One, and they have a empty spot ready, and they will make a list of the items coming in, put it in the open lot, and then they will be in contact with the clients moving forward of the commission off of everything.
And the way, I think her name was Colleen, was with Gallery One, the way she described it to me, and I thought that this was interesting too. They, you know how Stuart years ago, and maybe they still do, they probably do, but of course with COVID, this kind of, I guess, process slowed down a little bit, where you had people come into your house. You know, when you were putting your house on the market and maybe you auctioned off your things, people would
estate sale.
Yeah, through your home. But what they do, like Sarah was saying, is they drop it off. They've got, Gallery One has a warehouse, actually. I've never seen it. I don't know how big it is, and once the items arrive there, after Allure drops everything off, it's going to go to auction. They position it, they clean it up, position it nicely, write a description, you know, photograph. They have photographers that take professional pictures of the items. And then these items go on sale online, which actually, again, I'm new to all this, but apparently brings in even more traffic than you would if it were an in-person, in-home auction.
Yeah.
So it's again, another kind of concept, part of this whole process that I never thought about, gave much thought toward, but certainly, again, it goes back to that one-stop shopping where, like, All.org is all about going in there and just basically, like, I don't know, I picture somebody just like, I don't know, like Sarah, like All.org even kept my parents' bed intact until the very, very, very last minute, so that they could sleep comfortably in their bed with their, blanket, all their comfortable bedding. And then that was taken up the very last minute. Everything else was done around, and then they got them on the other end, and then that bed was made so that they could sleep comfortably. It's just from beginning to end. If you are going through a move, I can't think of another way to do it that would give you any less stress, emotionally, physically, than to use a company like this and let's say that there's something that they don't offer or provide, they'll at least be able to guide you in the right direction with different questions that you have. And I don't know that my parents could have done it without using, like in our case, All Organized, but a company of this nature.
I'm really surprised that this is just a Texas only program too, that it just sounds like it would be a very useful program around the country. Allorganizedpro.com is Sarah's company for you to use if you're in the Houston area, but also if you're anywhere else in the country. look at it, because maybe there's options around the country for either all organized to go into those states, or there are other companies that are doing the same thing. It's got to be a way to take the hassles off of the moves. I would imagine, Sarah, that probably one of the biggest things that you have to deal with is the emotions, because you finally determined, yeah, I think it's time to move, it's time to downsize, it's time to reorganize and all, but the emotions that you have to deal with, any good projects or maybe bad experiences that you have had in this process?
Yes. So I would say a good experience would be how everything went for the Catuzis. We knew ahead of time walking in what to expect. We knew what was going to go, what was going to fit. There was already decluttering that had happened at that time. He had a game plan and he knew our expectations and he also met them. So that also made it efficient for the cost as well. Um, and so a bad experience would definitely be the opposite of that. People that are on the fence and have a rushed move. Maybe they have to get out of their home by the end of the week because they just found out about us. So clients that are definitely more rushed in the process, it's going to take more time. There's going to be more guidance on those crucial decisions.
Yeah, that's a good, very good point. I didn't, pardon me, think about is if you're rushed through the process. It never occurred to me that you might be rushed through your process, because you're right. In my parents' case, we had a lot of time for you guys to do what you do best. Whereas if they had come to you at the last minute, we just sold our house, we need to be in a week, you have to cram everything you do into
Right.
yeah. So that's interesting. It didn't occur to me that that could be a challenge.
Yes, yes, it is. And
Does that happen often?
it does. It does. It happens more than you think. It really does. We call those emergency moves.
Oh, okay. So
Well, you're obviously have contingency plans for dealing with that when you do have to do it in a rush situation, as opposed to somebody that says, well, we're moving in 6 weeks, so we've got enough time to go through the whole process. How old is the company? When was it established?
About 4 years ago, two ladies, Mary Anderson and Elizabeth Strauss, they were the ones that created this company. They both came from corporate backgrounds.
That's amazing to me, that this concept, which you think people have been moving for decades and needing a service like this, and yet this is only a 4-year-old company. And then you, Sarah, you talk about this is what you do during the day. Then you get in your car and you go home to a 30-acre ranch. Is that that's, you live on a 30-acre operating ranch?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then the second job begins.
Your other full-time job.
Exactly.
I have to ask you, I keep referring to your website because I thought it's pretty well organized. But what is the part about favorite pets
Favorite pets.
on your website? Like there were a bunch of animals, like it looked like dogs and cats, and it said like favorite pets on it.
Oh, okay. So we have two dogs, we have a cat, and we have Hereford cattle.
Okay, maybe I misread it then. I could have sworn on the website there was something about favorite pets, like maybe y'all take pictures of clients' pets or something, is what I thought it was, or something. Maybe.
Oh no, that is a different employee that used to do photography for fun.
Oh, I got you. Okay, okay. Well, it was.
Yeah, no, it's
I
okay.
thought well, I have to say, I thought maybe, well, isn't that cute? They took pictures of their clients, like pets that they became friendly with. I don't know. Of course, well, Sarah just moved my parents' two cats along with my mom and dad. She moved the two cats. And one of the cats is like dead cat walking. I mean,
Poor
no,
Beckham.
Beckham's. He's 18 years old, if that gives you an idea of how Beckham's. He's doing great, but he looks 18 in cat years.
Yes.
And and how do you deal with pets that are moving from their old surroundings into new surroundings? Do you find that to be challenging, or most of the times they're adaptable to it?
I would say it's kind of 50-50. It can definitely challenging at first. Just the new surroundings. A lot of these people are moving into communities where meals are provided. And so that's an adjustment. They're used to cooking and fending for themselves in the kitchen. And now we go down to a dining room to eat our meal, or maybe it's brought up to us. That's a challenge in itself as well. So, but yeah, no, some people enjoy it, and they're very happy right off the bat. They walk in, they feel lighter because there's less things that they're used to. So yeah, it's really depends on the person for sure.
And I think you need to embrace, and it's change, and some people are comfortable with change and some people aren't. But I mean, and I agree with you completely, and I've said this to my parents, and if people can really embrace the fact that you're shedding all the junk off, and I don't want to say junk because I know not all of it is junk, but it is stuff. It is
Mhm.
things. And it might be
Right.
it might be meaningful things to them, but it's still things, and it adds to the clutter. And I think, and I hope, and in my parents' case, certainly I hope that what will come from this is just a feeling of kind of like you said, Sarah, like lighter, and just, and I like to hear my dad already saying, okay, we moved probably more than we should have moved, but now I'm ready to clean even more out. And so,
Right.
it's
I,
it's
I,
it's change. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I guarantee that will happen, is because when my mom always used to have a phrase that if there's something she hasn't used in a year, then she doesn't need it anymore.
Right.
So, when you get into downsizing like that, you find yourself after a couple of years saying, you know what? I didn't realize how much stuff we had before and that we didn't really even need or use. So it gets easier as you go forward, and especially when you go from 4 bedrooms to 3 or 3 to 2, and you go from 3 bathrooms now to 2. There's a lot that you realize that you had to maintain, that you now no longer have to maintain all of that extra stuff, that it's all very, very workable. And
Well, yes, definitely. If you're in the greater Houston area, so Sarah, how do they, I mean, obviously we'll give your website again, allorganizedpro.com, but how else do y'all advertise? How else can people find you?
You can find us on Facebook for sure. We do lots of advertisements on Facebook, and a lot of senior communities in the Houston area and the greater Houston area. The senior communities have our business cards and brochures. One of our business owners, she does the marketing for our company, and that's her department, is spreading the news about us.
Yeah, that's what I think. People visit that website, whether you're a senior and thinking about getting ready to downsize and move, or you're middle aged and you've got parents that are maybe faced with this. It's a great program, and I know that there's like Del Webb communities all over the country, and this is a terrific service for somebody that is now moving into a retirement community, whether it's assisted living or just a retirement community. And what they do at All Organized is just, I think it's phenomenal. And
It
I'm
is.
really surprised that it is such a new concept now. And I wish you and your company the best of luck, and I hope you spread nationwide to help people all over the country doing what you're doing in Houston.
Well, Stuart, I have to say, to add to that, not only are they helping the actual couple or family that's moving, but me as a family member, extended and not living in Houston, it brought me such comfort knowing that my parents were in such good hands, first of all, but also being provided all the services that they needed to make this move happen. So like, yeah, I mean, even just extended family members, they're
Right.
doing something for them as well, because they're bringing us great comfort.
Well, it eliminates the family members like you from having to get into the middle of your parents and trying to fight them off, you know, because,
Yeah, I let Sarah do that.
well, yeah, one wants to do, yeah, put Sarah in the middle and let her deal with it. That's
That's right. Sarah, at one point we were talking about the TV. I'm like, mount the TV, just mount it.
Well, folks, it's allorganizedpro.com. And if you go there, connect with Sarah. She'll answer all your questions. Sarah, I can't thank you enough for being with us on Something to Talk About. It's a great, great program. And I'm sure that it certainly has worked for the Catuzzi family. And also it's a wonderful program that you have. And thanks for taking the time to spend it with us and telling us about it.
Thank y'all so much for having me. This was fun.
Good,
Thanks, Sarah.
good.
Thank you so much.
All right, and that'll do it for another session of Something to Talk About. And I hope you'll join us again next week, same time. Maybe we'll get all of our glitches taken care of. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this program and come back and join us again next time for another edition of Something to Talk About. Bye.
Bye, guys.